Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode here on the Vintage Electronics channel. Today, we're going to talk about the cassette tape and if it really does stack up in the world of digital recording nowadays. Stay tuned. So yeah, you really heard that right. It's another video about whether tape is as good as digital. But we're going to do it a little bit different this time. We're going to talk about, in practical daily life for the average adult, is there really a difference? Is a cassette tape as good as digital for most people? And I'm going to explain that by starting off with what our ears can actually hear. When we're babies, when we're first born and our ears are perfect, we can hear sounds from about the 20 hertz level up to about 20 kilohertz. So a pretty wide range from very deep lows to very shrill highs. Well, the Tascam 112 cassette deck that I use, and if you record on a chrome tape, can do about 25 hertz up to about 18 kilohertz. Now, we're losing some top end and we're losing some bottom end, but as you get older, when you're not a baby anymore, your hearing actually tends to settle in on the top end between about 15 and 17 kilohertz. So that actually fits in below the top end of a cassette recorded on that machine. And we're not talking about a Nakamichi or a super expensive cassette deck, just a semi-professional model from the 80s. So what I'd like to do is record some music onto this tape. We'll compare it to the digital recording. Now, I do want to remind you that you're going to be listening to the recordings that have been compressed and put on YouTube. So make sure to listen and watch this video in the highest quality that you can. If you can watch it in full 1080p, do that, because the sound quality will be as good as it can get over YouTube. And then we'll sit down and talk about it a little bit. All right, well, this is my main cassette deck that I use here in my studio. This is a Tascam 112. This was on the low end of the professional stuff back in the 1980s by Tascam. I think it's a great unit. It does have pitch control for fine adjustment of your playback speed. The nice big VU meters with peak lights, independent adjustment of your record levels. Of course, it does record on normal chrome or metal cassettes, and it does have Dolby BNC noise reduction. I tend to record and play back without any type of noise reduction. Just in my opinion, I feel like noise reduction strips too much of the high end out of the recording, and personally I'd rather have the tape hiss and be able to hear the full spectrum of the recording, which I think, especially in this demonstration, I think is going to be important, because we want to hear exactly what the tape sounds like compared to the digital. So I've selected a song from the YouTube music library called Piano Store by Jimmy Fontanez, and what we'll do is we'll get this thing recording and see if we can play it back and compare the two together. now that we've recorded that, let's listen to the recording from the cassette and see if we can hear any difference. So, from the standpoint of this demonstration, what are my thoughts? Does the cassette still stand up in today's digital world? I'm going to have to say yes. Now, I'm going to caveat that by saying, will there be noise, tape hiss on a cassette? Absolutely. But I think that's what gives a cassette its charm. I also believe that just as much as your taste in music is a very personal thing that is not up for discussion with anybody else's opinion, I also believe music reproduction is the same way. That's why people enjoy vinyl records, cassette tapes, reel-to-reels, even 8-tracks, which we're going to cover too in another video. But I think it all comes down to the listener. Now, as we get older and our upper range of our hearing comes down a little bit closer to that of a cassette, I think they're pretty close. I'm in my early 40s, and the upper end on this doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound as bad as it used to me. Now, I don't know if that's the equipment, the quality of the tapes, because when you're younger, you can't afford this stuff. But I think it sounds really good. But like I say, it's a very, very personal thing. And I'm not going to tell anybody that this is better than digital or digital is better than this, because that's completely up to you. And that's what makes this fun for everybody. I want to know your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think cassettes stand up in the modern world? Do you prefer digital? Do you like vinyl records, reel-to-reel? What sounds the best to you? Because that's what's important. And I want to hear about it. Let's get a discussion going. For now, I'm Chad. You're watching the Vintage Electronics channel, and we'll see you next time.